All right, welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Broker to Broker podcast. I'm your host, Mark Summers, founding president of AIM. Hey, today we have a very, very exciting guest here. She's a rock star within our industry. Can't wait to hear her insight. But let me welcome Becky Thompson, senior loan originator for Empire Home Loans. Becky, thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Mark. Good to see you.
Good. It's always good to see you. Okay.
Yeah.
So we had some funny text messages back and forth before this started, found out that you're from Michigan as well. So that's where I'm from and still live. So we have a connection here. So let's just get this show on the road here. So Becky, if you can, tell me your path to get into this crazy industry that we love.
Yeah, it's kind of like that song, that wild winding, what is the long and winding road that led me straight to you. I mean, it's something I didn't really get into until I was 40. So it was accidental. I think a lot of people in this industry get into it accidentally. I had tried my hand at being a financial planner and really hated it. Didn't like telling people what to do with their money. They were going to come back for me 30 years later and tell me how I screwed up their retirement and they weren't going to be able to make it work. And so I was selling some cars because, that's what you do kind of when you're in between things. And this guy walked in and said, I think you'd be great at my company. And I'm like, what do you do? And he's like, mortgage. And I'm like, I don't know what's mortgage. I don't even know what mortgage is. So I interviewed at the company, and that was in 2005. And they were hiring about 20 loan officers every 2 weeks. And out of the 20 that they would go over the guidelines with, about 2 of them would make it. And I just loved it. It was like I finally found what I was meant to do. I felt like a duck to water. And it was just, it was really great. I was top 10% my first year and didn't really know what hit me, but definitely got bit by the bug. And that, of course, was 2005. So, the world was going to get turned on its head very quickly after that. But that was my entrance into it. So,
yeah, I call those the wild, wild west days. I remember when I got my start, I think it was 2001-ish. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, I'm thinking I'm a loan officer. I have to, go to classes, do whatever. And they were like, no, just sign the loan application. You're good to go. Those were some fun days. So you got started back in the day and you've been in the industry a long time. So tell us what else happened after that. Like, were you retail? Were you broker? And I also want to know how you found your way to our beloved Julie Arborough's Empire Home Loans. I need to know how you found your way there.
Yeah, what a life changer she is. So it started in it was the dirty words of subprime mortgage. That was what I had. One guidelines, First Franklin, and we just did, but at the time you could do 10 loans up to 100% financing on a 580 credit score. And how crazy is that, right? So it was 1 year in basically a call center, and then I moved from Irvine, California to Tacoma, Washington, and I had no idea. I thought it was going to be the same thing, but it just turned out to be like a regular prime. I was National City office, right? So I thought it was being the same thing. I had no idea, and I didn't understand when someone asked me for bank statements on a 800 credit score. I'm like, why do you need bank statements? I mean, I'm doing all kinds of loans with no bank statements. They got great credit, don't you know? So that was quite the rude awakening. But so then I was right around the beginning of 2000, when that mortgage meltdown started happening around 2006, I joined Wells Fargo, which was a great move. It was very stable. We didn't worry about whether that was going to be a job in the morning when we came in. I was there until 2013 and then moved over to New American Funding. So bank to retail, and then enjoyed being at New American Funding a lot. It was a great place to work. A lot of people that ended up being really lifelong friends. And then in 2014, I moved from New American Funding over to Empire, and it was really cool. This industry is small, and as you meet people and watch people, I'd been a friend of Carol Pope forever, and she had moved to Empire, and I noticed that she was staying a long time at Empire. She was there, I don't know, 3 or 4 years maybe before I called her, and I just said, tell me what's going on and tell me the introduction. So we talked a little bit. Long story short, I got over to Julie, and Julie, she's just amazing. She's amazing. And when I first met her, I just really liked her, of course. And then we had a bunch of conversations, and I was interviewing a couple of other places too. But as we got close to the end of our interview process, she started using some language that I was familiar with, and I was like, "It sounds like to me, you've gone to Landmark Education. Is that true?" And she's like, "Yeah, all of us, Leo, Anthony, and I have all gone, completed the course, several courses there." And I was like, "I'm in. That's it. That's all I need to know. You guys are my people." You're obviously into personal growth, because nobody does that unless they're interested in growing personally. And so it's been a really great match. And I love that she interviews and hires according to values. And so when you get a whole bunch of people that have similar values set to you and you're in the room with them and you're playing in the sandbox with what they're doing, it's that the synergy is amazing because you just find all kinds of people that are just like yourself, not exactly, but same value set.
Yeah, no, Julie, for people that are listening, Julie is on our board of directors and head of the Women's Mortgage Network, and she is just absolutely crushing it. You know what I mean? I don't know where she gets her energy from, because I would like a tenth of it, but she's always going, always moving forward. And the one thing you brought up was personal growth. So talk to me about that a little bit. When you say personal growth, what does that mean to you, and how has it helped your business?
Yeah, it's an interesting journey. We all get on our journey how it happens, but I grew up with a dad that was really, he was an interesting guy. He was super easy to talk to, and he always invited you to share and open up. And I did. And the downside to that was he would find a way to twist that and use it and manipulate and control. So obviously that was really difficult as a kid, and I had a lot of anger issues, and I was really frustrated. And what I decided from that is that I really wanted to create safe spaces for people where they could have conversations. But how my safe spaces started for me was at about age 21. I graduated in '88 with a psych degree, and I got my first job. And my boss at the time, Sue, she says, "Seems like you have some anger issues. You might want to go talk to someone." And that was a beginning. So I was 21, kind of the beginning of my personal growth journey. And it was really great. That person said to me, do you know that you're not the crazy one in your family? Like, your family's the crazy one. And I thought, no, I had no idea. I thought it was me. So fast forward, just did a lot of therapy. But then also when I got into mortgage, I loved it, but I kept running into barriers. I kept running into walls. Like, how do I do this? How do I get around it? What do I do? And so for me, the only way to grow through that was to grow. And then how do you do that, right? You hire a coach. I have a secret weapon in my husband. He's an engineer, and he can break down anything with me. And he also is patient and tolerant enough to hang with me to like really break it down. Like the things that people, I think maybe just, I don't know, get it easier than I do, or smarter than I am. I don't know. They have more sales, something. They can talk off their tongue and it sounds magical. I don't really have that until I break it down and practice. And so we've spent hours and hours walking around the neighborhood, and I'm stuck here, and what do I do, and brainstorm about this. And so it's been, and I've hired a bunch of coaches. I've done coaching my whole career. And, the first one was in 2009. And the reason I went to see her is because my manager and her manager both were going to coaching. And I'm like, how do I be successful? And they're like, go get a coach. And I was like, I don't have any money. They're like, figure it out. So it was like $1,000 a month in 2009. I didn't have two knuckles to rub together. I mean, I was broke. It was 2009. And, but, hired this gal, and a woman, and she helped me figure out, how many loans do you have to do, and how much volume do you have to do to make the money you want to make. And back then people would say, well, how many loans are you going to do this year? And I'm like, I don't know. How am I supposed to know how many loans I'm going to do this year? And they're like, well, just pick a number. I'm like, okay. So started there. So I think just, lots and lots of coaching over the years, and it was money, and it cost money, but the return on that value was huge for me.
Well, how do you use that in business? I mean, I'm a big proponent of a coach. I mean, I've personally, not business wise or personal, I've coached ever since I got out of playing college. I've been a coach every year for sports. I know how I relate that to business. How do
Yeah.
you relate like your personal growth and your coach to business?
Yeah. I think for me, it's all about making peace and getting comfortable with who I am. And then when I'm able to be in that space with other people, it lets them show up that way. So I think you have to do the personal growth before you can be with people in the space that they need to be in order to get their mortgage done. And if you do it, then you can have a rich experience with them. But if you don't, then it's just transactional. And I don't really love the transactional part.
Yeah, no, if you're a transactional person in this industry, you won't make it. I can promise you that much right now. For people listening out there, if you're transactional and you just chase that paycheck, you will never make it in this industry. I've never been a part of or seen more where personal relationships is so important.
Yeah. I think it's becoming more and more important too, because as AI is impacting our lives in amazing ways, it also is taking away that human. You don't even know sometimes if you're on the phone with AI or an actual person. I want the actual person. I
Yeah.
want AI to teach me how to set my microphone up, but I want the actual person when I'm doing alone.
Yeah, when it's dealing with me, exactly, like I want personal touch all the time. That's why, I mean, I get it. I'm with you. I love AI for certain things, but I hate it. Absolutely hate it when, like I'm trying to fix my CRM or my website and I'm talking to AI. I absolutely hate
Yeah.
it.
It's beautiful, and then I think the humans will ev evolve out of that. I don't know. I mean, it's amazing. I use it every day. It's amazing. I love it. It's a great tool.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. So speaking of that, like relationships, it also, that's also a trust factor. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And when it comes to business, what practices help clients feel safe and heard with you?
I think it just opened up the space for people to talk. So, um, it's hard to know how do you say like who you are in a 20-minute podcast, right? But uh, one of the things that I give openings for people when I'm talking to them. So most recently, I had a couple that bought a house. They were whatever mid-30s or something, and as we were talking earlier in the conversation, I had mentioned, I don't know, something happened, and I just used the phrase, this is my autism poking out. So I'm also autistic, which is something that has been a very interesting journey to find out. But it was cool because in saying that, that opened up the space for her to say, oh my gosh, I am too. And then her husband says, and I'm ADHD and I've got other things that I'm dealing with. And he's got an illness that's causing him a lot of pain. And so we ended up having a conversation about that at the time. But fast forward when we're going in, now they've looked at 4 or 5 houses, they've made offers on houses, and we're talking about numbers, and they're having to increase their purchase price because what they're finding isn't quite meeting for their needs. So as we're talking, she starts doing like this. She starts rocking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I'm like, okay, I got it. We're getting a little bit tight. We're getting a little close to where it's uncomfortable. And instead of making her wrong or having her feel like she was weird or, what are you doing? It was just like, I get it. I get it, Beth. We're getting a little close to, what feels uncomfortable. And her husband kind of chimed in and said, they know that same kind of thing. But for me to be in that space with her, I mean, what an honor. She's at her most vulnerable space, and I'm there with her having a conversation that's saying, you're okay how you are. Let's just be with it how you are. And then we can get the answers for you in a way that you can understand. I mean, for me, that's
Well, you're
how do
showing a
you
lot of empathy. You're showing a ton of empathy there. You know what I mean? And the funny thing about this is not once have you brought up that, in this conversation that you have the best rates. You
Mhm.
have, you know what I mean, the lowest closing costs. Like that's where I think a lot of people miss out on this business is once you create a relationship, I mean, you can't oversell them on a rate. I mean, we're all on comp plans, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's not like you're trying to make more money. You're just trying to create a relationship, and then all of those figures, the rates, the closing costs come later.
they do. And I agree with that. But I also think, and I don't know if this is the exact space to say it, but there's something magical about being in the broker space too, because I was at retail for 9 years and I was near the end losing about 50% of my contracts to outside rates. People loved me and they're like, Becky, I really love you, but your rates are just way off. And there's a certain part about building a relationship, but there's also you got to deliver on the product too. You can't just be like, hey, love me and pay 12% for your mortgage. I mean, it just obviously the rates
Right.
were not 12%, but it's a balance. But then, when you start to open up into the broker space and see what's possible there and see what you can deliver as well, because part of that's the trust thing too, right? If someone's talking to me and they're trusting me, they're trusting that I know what I'm doing, that I've been in this business for 20 years and that I'm going to steer them in the right direction or give them at least choices that are going to work for them. And that was a growth thing too. I was scared to come broker. This is where
Why
the
were you
big kids,
scared? I want
that's
to hear
where
this.
yeah, that's where the big kids play. That's where the OGs are. That's where all the people who know the things, they know all the secrets to how to get you the right loan or whatever. And I don't know. I mean, I always did well, I was always top 10% and making President's Club and stuff like that. But the idea of coming over broker is it was scary because I thought maybe I couldn't do it or maybe I couldn't figure it out or it was going to be too many things or too many I don't know, choices and I also worried about the control. I worried about, because I was used to having my underwriter right there, my processor,
Mhm.
and so I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, maybe I'm going to be not able to deliver on what I promised, which is hugely important to me, right?
Absolutely, it is. I mean, that's your name. That's what you survive on.
Yeah, yeah,
So I got to hear this because I love diving into the retail versus broker world.
yeah.
The funny thing about it is I've never been retail. I've
Mm.
always been broker, but I see what happens on the retail. So I love diving into this. When you say you were scared to come over, I love how you said that's where the big kids play.
Yeah.
Like, where did you get that thought from? Did retail put that into your head, or like because there's a lot of myths back and forth. You know what I mean? And I love dispelling them. So like what was a myth that was dispelled, when you hopped over into the broker world?
Well, number one, I found a really amazing group of people. I mean, seriously, to find a values match, that is the most key, rewarding, beautiful, amazing thing to be in that space. So for me, it wasn't just about going to any old broker. I don't know. I've only been to one, so I can't compare other different ones. But I kind of lost the question on that one. So tell me again,
What was that like? What when you hopped over to the broker world, what was a myth that was dispelled? Like
oh, the
you were
myth.
like, oh, that's not
Yeah.
true.
Oh, so and I kind of got that myth from some from retail and some from going to my CE classes, and the people who would be my CEs that were broker, they were just older people who just were confident, and they would just look at me like I would talk about things and you could just tell they're like, yeah, you're retail. You don't even know. And so I don't really know where the exact myth came from, but it was like the elusive thing that you were gonna do. I don't know. I wish I could be more. It was more of just a feeling about that. I don't know. I mean, I remember when I was taking some quotes to my retail space for rate matching or whatever, and the response I often got was, "Well, that's a broker, so that's not even the same. We're not even playing in the same world." And I was like, "Well, my people don't care. They don't care if they
Right.
get their loan from a retail shop or a broker shop. They just want a great loan." And so what am I going to go to them? Oh, well, compared to retails, we're really good with our rates. Like nobody cares. So that was just, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure everyone's just trying to hang on to their space and trying to keep their market share. And I appreciate that. And I loved where I was. It was a really, really good group of people. And for many, many years of my life, it was amazing. Um, it was nice to graduate, to come over and be
Well,
part of
we're
the big
glad
kid.
we're glad you're here. How about that? And I know
Thanks.
Julie speaks the world of you, so we're glad you're here. You obviously are the true definition of a broker because you care and it's not transactional.
Mm,
You know what I mean? I
yeah.
think one thing that is going on that we cannot lose sight of, and we kind of brought it up, is AI and technology. You know what I mean? Like, yes, you use it as a tool, but I think a lot of people are relying on it too much. If that makes any sense. So if you're talking to a group of brokers, like how much of personal development should be a priority
I think it's
and
key.
treating customers great?
Yeah, I think it's key. I don't think, unless you're fully formed when you're born, which if you are, that's awesome. You had great parents, you had a great environment, you knew all this stuff before you even needed to. Maybe you don't need any personal growth. I don't know. For me, I had a kind of messed up childhood and I was angry and pissed off. And then I got this whole autism thing going on. And then I got this other thing, you can't make me, which is a lovely thing to play with. That's my default mode. You can't make me. Even if I want to, you can't make me. And so, you're trying to manage these things that are going on. I mean, everybody's got their thing, right? My husband says, don't blame me. So every time we have an argument, it sounds like you're blaming me. Yeah, because that's your default thing. That's your mechanism, right? But if you don't know what your machinery is saying to you, it's awfully difficult to try to figure out then how are you going to be in this world where, let's face it, don't we? I mean, everything we face in mortgage, right? I mean, we're creating, the way I look at it is I'm creating possibility for everybody that I talk with, right? I'm there to create their dream. There to facilitate what they're doing, get them from point A to point B, the smoothest and the easiest way possible, right? With as most authenticity as possible. But if you can't get down, we get knocked down every day. If you can't get up and like have the next conversation with somebody, you get stuck for a day, you get sideways, you get whatever, which we all do, right? But the faster you can bounce back, the faster you can get back on what you have to do, the faster you can make peace with it. There's other things too that I've found that I didn't know. I have huge sensory issues. So for me, anything that's loud, touch, taste, sound, um, which includes going to Brokers Open. It includes meeting with people. My social battery gets drained super fast. I've got to recharge stuff I didn't know about myself when I was younger. I just thought everyone was like that. Turns out not everyone is. So as you can start to kind of differentiate, like, well, what is it like now when I have a big meeting day, I kind of got to schedule recoup time. And if I don't, I just can't do it. I can sit at my desk all day, but I just can't get anything done. So, I mean, what makes people tick, right? What makes each of us tick? And I think if you don't know, and if you're stuck, that's the other part. I mentioned Landmark earlier. To me, that was just pivotal. One of the most successful women that I knew in 2001, her name was Lena. And I asked her, I'm like, how did you get this way? What did you do? She goes, just go register for Landmark. That's what you need to do. I'm like, okay. So I didn't even go to class ahead of time. I just like signed up, went, and it was for a weekend. And I made so much progress that weekend. It was insane. I called my mom, told her, Mom, I'm sorry. I've been blaming you for everything in my life. I'm 35 years old. Been blaming you my whole life. Turns out it was actually my responsibility to manage. Who knew? But just when you do that stuff, you make peace with your past. Then you can start to think about, what do you want to do in the future? What do you want to envision? What do you want to grow? How do you want to be? Who do you want to be with people? And I couldn't do that when I first started. It's been a long journey. I'm almost 60 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it's a journey, but you can obviously tell that you have grown yourself personally, you know what I mean? And you've let go of the past. And I think that's very inspirational to people listening because, I'll relate it back to mortgages. Like you can close 100 loans or 99 out of 100 loans, but the one you will never forget is that one you couldn't close.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think a lot of times we dwell on that too much. And you just got to kind of say, hey, I put my best foot forward, learn from it, and move along. And it's kind of seems like your life story a little bit there. You know what I mean? But I mean, you're a great person. And, and the next question I'm about to ask you, like, I think this is really heartfelt coming from you. If someone, fresh out of college or someone starting in this industry and it's their first day, today, what would you tell them? What piece of advice would you give them so they can become successful in this industry?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is the business that you have to reinvent yourself constantly because the cheese is constantly moving. I mean, how many times have we gone through iterations all over the years? It's constantly changing. And then your goals are constantly changing. So then you want something different. And then you have to figure out how do you go and get it. And instead of having someone tell you that you can't do this, you can just design it yourself, right? So the career is, I think it's the most amazing career ever. I mean, I think about if there's anything else I could do, and the answer is like, I wouldn't even care. Why would I even bother? So I think getting involved in personal growth, getting coaching, find a company that you're aligned with values, because if you're in the wrong space, it's not going to support you and it's not going to give you, what you need to do. But just get in a mentoring program, get in a coaching program, find people that you align with. I had an amazing business partner since 2006 to 22, and her and I grew together, and we just, went along together, and we learned each other and brainstorm and back and forth. It's kind of a lonely business if you don't have people that you can interact with and trust and be with. It's a lonely business. Choose wisely with your partner. My husband's my biggest ally, my biggest secret weapon. I mean, it makes a big difference who you partner with, and how do you know what you're choosing on that? My first choice wasn't as good as my second choice, but
But you said two things there that I want to touch base on real fast. First off is you hit the nail on the head when you said you have to reinvent yourself in this industry all the time. You do. I mean, the longer you get in it, the more cycles you're going to see. Yes, you and I were in the subprime days, and then you remember we had the GFE, and then we had comp plans, and every time everyone thinks the sky is falling, it's not. You just got to reinvent yourself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful thing because to me, it keeps it fresh. Like you may have been really good at it, but guess what? I'm going to reinvent myself. It doesn't have to be this crazy overhaul, but you gotta have a little bit of a different mindset. And the second thing I want to touch base on is you were talking about this industry's lonely. You know what I mean? You're absolutely right. It can get very, very lonely. And that's why we started AIM. You know what I mean? Like you can reach out, anyone can reach out. I know, Becky, you would be a perfect example of this. And I say this to all the guests is like, if someone were to call you and say, hey, I'm struggling, can you help me? What would your answer be?
Heck yes. So talk with them on the phone. I mean, this is what it's all about.
Yeah. And that's what AIM's here for. You know what I mean? Like when I get up and talk at Success Track every week, I say, to the beginners, to the old people that have been in this industry is you're going to find a time in your journey that this gets lonely. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. We can all help each other. So, what's an example of you helping someone?
I had somebody call me the other day, and she's in retail, and she's trying to figure out, does she want to switch over to broker, and we talked about her fears and what are you wondering and how's it going, and just reassuring her that life is good on this side. It's going to be okay. So I don't know, it was a 45-minute conversation. Somebody that I was a friend of a friend, but I didn't know directly, and I have no vested interest in her success other than just as a human, just wanting her to feel comfortable and know that she's going to be okay and that there's people that are going to be here.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what it's about. So Becky, I'm going to give you one last minute here, because I know you're busy. You got a lot of work to do. We all do. You know what I mean? It's a great time to be in the industry right now. As of the time of this recording, tides are changing. You know what I mean? And we can slowly feel it's a slow crawl, but I'm down for it. But let's say, are you coming to Fuse? I don't know. Are you coming to Fuse?
I'm not, and I'll tell you why. But go ahead.
Because I want to say, if you were standing up on the stage of Fuse right now and you want to talk to the entire broker community, you have 1 minute. What would you tell them?
This career can give you everything you want. You gotta just brainstorm into it, and you got to figure it out. And you got to grow. You got to grow. That's what you got to do. And if you don't want to grow, it's the wrong business. Yeah,
you'll stay level. So, all right, I got to hear it. Why aren't you coming to Fuse? Because I know a lot of people listening are going to want to meet you, but they can't now. But so what's going on?
Exactly. So we summer in Washington State, where it's beautiful, and we winter in the Bahamas on our 55-foot catamaran. And so we're heading back to the Bahamas to do our 6 months of sailing with our Starlink connection and working remotely from there. So as much as I would love to be there, the boat calls and we're heading that direction. So.
Okay. All right. I'm a little jealous, but no offense taken. I understand everyone in our industry can't go, but no, we're going to miss you. I know people that are listening to this would love to talk to you. I mean, just reach out to Becky. She's an amazing person. And Becky, I want to thank you for joining us today. You were great. It was a very heartfelt podcast. You can tell what you're talking about. Everything you talked about today was from the heart. And, it wasn't just business, it was more about relationships and creating these relationships with people so you can have a successful business. You know what I mean? So I just want to thank you for joining us. You were awesome today.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate you letting me be here.
No problem. So brokers, if you want to catch up on all of our past podcast episodes, as well as other AIM Network podcasts, please head over to aimgroup.com/broker-to-broker. You can also listen and watch all AIM Network podcasts on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. If you're on YouTube, our handle's @AIM National for more great wholesale content. Everyone else, please rate our podcast, leave a review, and this helps spread the word and provide it to the world that brokers are best. And Becky, thanks for joining us again. You're one of the best ones out there.
Thanks, Mark.